Ciao friends! One of the most interesting features of Power BI is the ability to show the top 3 or top n products in a report, sorting them by one of the measures that belong to the report. One of the most common questions once people start to use the feature is what are the sales of all the remaining products? If you're showing only the top 3, then you also want to know how much all the remaining products sold. And in a previous video, I shown how to create a query using DAX Studio that solves the problem by adding an additional row others to the result of the query that contains the sales of all the remaining products. Now, the goal of that video was to show how to write complex code step by step. That said, most of the comments to the video were, that is cool if I can use DAX Studio and build a query, but what if I want to obtain the same result in Power BI? That's why in this video I want to show you how to create this. This is a Power BI report that is showing the top 3 products, so the top 3 ordered by sales amount, and it also shows an additional row, others, that contains the sales of all the remaining products. It's a report, so it's dynamic. It will work with any slicer, any filter that you apply to the report will work automatically and update the report automatically. And you can also choose whether you want to show the top 3, the top 5, the top n, or whatever number. So it's completely dynamic and works straight in Power BI. We will need to write a lot of code, and I want to show you in the video step by step how to solve the entire solution. That is why it will take quite some time to solve the entire problem, and I will not be able to go into a lot of details about how to optimize the code or how to understand some of the details about the filter context and the behavior with with filters on different columns. If you are interested in the topic, my suggestion is first look at the video to get a general feeling of the technique and understand what we are going to solve. Once you have seen the video once, go to the SQL BI website, read the article, download the file, and maybe follow the video a second time, doing step by step the same operation that I'm doing in order to recreate the solution on the demo file. Once you have followed all these steps, now you will be ready to implement the same solution on your data model. Now, because we will need to write a lot of code, we start by analyzing the requirements and build a list of all the steps that we need to carry in order to obtain the final solution. So let's start by analyzing the details of the report, searching for the important points. Let me clear everything, and the first thing we need to worry about is how to limit the visualization to the top 3. Here we have only the top 3 products. We will also have the row containing others, but that will be a next step. For now, we only want to limit the top 3 ordered by sales amount. And because we want to do things the right way, I also created a slicer. So what we will do are the dynamic top 3. And this is the first step. Limit the number of rows in a visual showing only the top 3. Let me start writing down the different steps. Show only the top n dynamic. So this will be the first of our tasks. The second step we need to carry, let me again clear everything, is find a way to show this row, others. Others need to be an additional row added to the data model. And you see that others appears several times. We have others here, and again others here. So others is a row that we need to add to the model, but it cannot be a product because we cannot just add one additional product to our product table named others. That product would have a category, would be sold in a year, would have a brand, so it will not be visible in all those different places. Whereas what I want to have is a new row others that appears everywhere I want, and I want to control how it happens. So that drives us to the second operation that we need to do, which is add the others row and I just write out of thin air. Because it will not be a product, it will be some different entity that we need to add to our model. That is not enough, because once we have the row containing others, we will need to provide values. You see that we have a value here, and a third value here for the row containing others. This value is not a value. This is not a product. We say that already. So the sales amount that we show in the first rows is the sales amount of one product. But the sales amount that we show for others is a different value that we will need to compute. That drives us to the third point, which is compute a value. Compute a value for others. So we are now at 3 points. We need to understand the fourth and the most complex of all these points, which is sorting. If you look at the first 3 products, they are sorting 1, 2, 3. And the sort order is defined by the sales amount. So the product that has the largest value for the sales amount appears as the first value. But the final value, the value for others, appears as fourth, even though it has the largest of all the numbers. So despite having the largest number, it always appears fourth. And this requires additional code and additional attention to details. We will want to use the correct sort order, where by correct sort order, I mean a sort order that shows the top 3 ordered by sales amount and the others row as the last. So the final point will be compute, not compute, but sort rows the right way. Where by right, I mean the way that we want the data to be sorted. Now we have the list of all the details that we need to worry about, and we will solve the problems one step at a time. So we start from the first one and then we move to the different ones. But we need to pay attention to one important details. That is, all the requirements need to work together. And this is the most complex part, because we will need to find a solution for every individual step, taking into account the fact that we have all the other requirements. I mean, there are different ways you can use to limit to the top n products the elements in a matrix, but not all the features are available to us because we will have the other points to solve. So now that we have our shopping list and we know exactly what we need to do, it's time to go to the demo and start writing code together. So now let's start by solving the first problem, which is filtering the visual in order to show only the top 3 products. I have different ways of solving the same scenario. I need a bit more space here. The first one is just using the features of Power BI. I can use a filter on this matrix and say for the product name that I want a filter, which is a top n, showing the top 3 by sales amount. I drag the sales amount into the value, and once I click on Apply Filter, as soon as Power BI finishes, okay, I now see only 3 products. But this is not exactly what I want. I don't want to see 1, 2, 3 products overall. I want to see the top 3 products for each individual category. Now, to obtain that, I cannot use just this top n, so let me get rid of this filter. Instead, what I need to do is create a new measure that computes a ranking and then apply the filter to that measure. So we can do that. We can create a new measure that I will call a ranking. And ranking does a rank x over all selected product name based on the sales amount. Let's look at the result of this measure. I can simply add it to my report, and you see that it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for cameras and camcorders. But if I reduce cameras and camcorders, it shows again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for home appliances. So if I limit this measure to show only the value which are less or equal than 3, then I will be happy. I can go on ranking and show that I want to see all the values which are less or equal than 3. I apply the filter, and now I am in a better position because now you see that I'm showing the top 3 products for each category. I can also get rid of this filter. So now I have 1, 2, 3, and I'm able to show the top 3. But what I want to do is a bit more complicated than that. I want that number to be dynamic. So I don't want to show the top 3 and hard code the value of 3 in my filter, which right now is here. I want to control everything through a measure. So what I do is I create a new parameter table that contains values from 1 to 20, and I will use that number dynamically in another measure to limit visibility of my rows. First of all, I need a new parameter that I call top n. It's a number that goes from 1 to 20 with an increment of 1, and I also add automatically the slicer. The engine created a new table top n, and I also have a slicer. Let me put it here. Okay. Now with the slicer, I can select a number or use the slicer to change the value. Let's go for 3. And once I have selected 3, I will change the filter. Instead of filtering the ranking, I will create a new measure called row visible that defines whether the row needs to be visible or not. So let me build a new measure here. We call it row visible, where I need in a variable the value of the ranking, and I just call ranking. I need the value of top n value, and I use the measure which has been created automatically by the parameter. A third variable, result, that basically checks that the ranking is less or equal top n value. Result will be true if the ranking is less or equal than that value. And finally, return result. Once I have my variable, I can add it to the report, and you see that it shows, let's enlarge it a bit, true for the first rows and then false for all the remaining ones. So I only need to filter true for this row, and I will be able to filter exactly the row that I need. So I add a different filter to this report. I get rid of the filter from the ranking, which is already gone, okay? And instead, I add a filter for row visible that says row visible need to be equal to. Oh, I cannot change it because right now it's a Boolean value. That's my bad. Row visible cannot be a Boolean value. I need to convert it to an integer, so that 0 is false and 1 is true, so that I will be able to say the value need to be 1. And when I apply the filter, you see that I still have the ranking column, which is no longer useful, but most relevant, I have only 3 rows visible. And if I change this number and I increase it to 4, the report changes, showing more rows. At this point, I can get rid from my visual of the ranking and the row visible column. These are no longer useful, and I solved the first of my problems, which is creating the dynamic ranking row. Now, let's see how we are. So far, we solved the top n dynamic. So we can mark the top n dynamic because we have been able to show the top n with a slicer. The next step is to add a row containing others, because we are able to show the top 3. We want to show an additional row containing others. Let's do that together. So We have values here, and we already said during the introduction that we do not want to add a new row containing the product, because that row will be a product, and so it will have a given brand, a given category. We do not want a new product. We want to add another entity that will be visible depending on what we choose. To do that, we create a new table that contains all the values of the product name plus this additional row. To do that, we need to create a new table. Let's call it product names, where we use all no blank row of product name. And this returns all the product names, but I want to union to this. A new table that contains only others. Now I have all the values of the product plus an additional row others. If I use this table, it will not work because this table is not linked to the remaining part of the model. So adding the filter, adding this column to the report is not going to change anything. I need to build a relationship between product and product names. So I want the product name here to go to product name, so that when I apply a filter on this product names column, it will actually filter the product table. But my product names column also contains the others row that does not correspond to any product. Now, by default, Power BI created the relationship as a one-to-one bidirectional relationship. That's not what I want. I want product to be the many side and product names to be the one side. So this is a many-to-one unidirectional relationship. Now it's much better. The many side is product and the one side is names. I can go here. Now I need to remove from the report the product name, and instead I use this new product name. It's going to take a while because right now the code which is executing the calculation is using the product name column. And you see it's not working either, because my ranking column is working with the product name, not with the product name. So here I need to use all selected product names product name. And now that I use the correct column in the ranking, it is working. The thing is, I do not see the others rows. So I created the others rows, but I don't see it. I want to make it visible. To make it visible, I need to force the visibility using the row visible column. Row visible forces a row to be visible or not. And right now it is true whenever the ranking is less or equal than the top n value. We can add further logic to it that says, well, show the row, or we can actually do that with the ranking. It's probably easier. We change the ranking and we check. First of all, we compute the ranking, and that is fine. Let me also format the code in a better way. But we also check if the others rows is visible or not. So in order to do that, we need to check if is other selected. And we check if the selected value of a product names, not product, but product names. Product name. I need to reduce the font a bit. Product names, product name is equal to others. And then for the result, we check if is other selected. So if the row other is the one selected, we return -1, so it will always be less than 3. Otherwise, we return the ranking. Now, because the ranking of others will be -1, it is less than 3. And if I did it correctly, we should be able to see, no, we have an error somewhere. Selected value. If the syntax for, there is a missing parenthesis somewhere. This is fine. This is fine. Oh, yes, I'm missing the return part. Return result. Okay, much better. Now I have my ranking, which should show others. Let me see what happens. I have others here with -1. I wasn't see it because sales amount was not showing anything. But now you see that with the ranking column, I see the row containing others. So I have created the row others. Now I see others in different places. I see it here, I see it here, and I see it also here. And it's in the wrong position right now, because if I sort by sales amount, it appears here because it does not have a value. But at least we have been able to go one step further. So what we did right now is add a check marks to this point. We now have the others row that is visible in the matrix. The next step is to compute a value for others, because others right now shows a blank, and there we do not want to show a blank, we want to show the sales of all the products which are not in the top 3. So to do that, we will need to update the measure we use. We will no longer be able to use sales amount. Instead, we will need to create a new measure that computes the sales amount for all the products except for the others rows. For the others rows, we will use a different calculation. Let's do that. So the next step is fixing this column, sales amount. I cannot use the sales amount column. I will need a new measure. So let's start by writing a new measure. Let's call it sales AMT, which at the beginning is just sales amount. Let me get rid of sales amount and we replace it with this new measure. That's the same number. I only want to format it as a decimal number. And I have two things to fix here. The first one is the total. The total right now is the sum of the individual rows because the filter is being applied to the entire calculation. Instead, at the total, I want the sales of all the products because later I will change others to show the sales of other products. So let's start fixing this. I want to see the grand total of all cameras and camcorders here. So I go here and I can define a variable that is a sales of all, which is calculate sales amount, and I need to remove the filter from the product name column, product name column. Okay, return. Now, here I need to check if I'm filtering one individual product, I return the sales amount. So if is in scope product name, that means I am at the product level. And then I show the sales amount. Otherwise, I show the sales of all. Okay, that should work. And that should fix the total. It is not. Why not? Here I have the product name. Let me see sales amount. Oh, here I should use product names, product name. Okay. Now I have the grand total here. I have individual values here, which is what I want. I need to change this number. When others is selected, I need to compute the grand total, which I already computed, minus the sum of these three values, which are the top n computed, which are the sales of the top n. Let's do that. That requires some time. So we are here, instead of this sales amount, we will need to start computing more variables. Let me reduce the font a bit because we need to write a ton of code. First of all, I need to retrieve how many products I want to grab, because I already have the sales of all. I need to compute the sales of the top 3, but I don't know what this 3 is. So I need a variable products to rank, which is my top n value. That will be 3 in my case. Then I need to check if the others rows is selected or not, because if the others rows is selected, I will do one calculation. If an individual product is selected but not others, then I will compute another, the standard sales amount. So is other selected? This is the same technique we used earlier. So we check that the selected values of product names, always product name, product name equals to others. And that I will use later. Now I need the sales of the top 3. In order to compute the sales of the top 3, I create a temporary table containing the product name, the sales amount. I will extract the top 3, and finally I will sum the sales amount of the top 3. So I need another variable, which I call products with sales amount, where I use add columns to all selected product names, product name. And I need a new column, amount, which is the sales amount. Now, products with sales amount contains all the products with the sales amount. I need to extract the top 3. So I can take the top 3 products, and I do a top n of my products to rank out of products with sales amount ordered by amount. Now, top 3 products at this point contains the top 3 products, and I can compute the sales of top 3, which is a sum x over top 3 products of the amount column. Now, sales of top 3 contains the sales of the top 3. I already have in a previous variable here the sales of all. So the last thing that I need to do is compute a result, which is if is other selected, then it's the sales of all minus the sales of the top 3. Otherwise, it's sales amount. This is not needed. No, it is, because I need a return result, and then a comma, because the next argument is sales of all. Okay. Now, if I did everything correctly, this computes the correct value for the others rows. Let's check it. Now you see we have the sales amount for the correct rows, we have a value for others, and we have fixed also the total. So that solves the third of our points. And we can check it. We have shown only the top n dynamic. We added the other rows. We computed a correct value now for the others row. We have the last step, which is sorting rows the right way. Now, sorting rows the right way is not that complex, but is kind of tricky. Let's see with the details. Let's see with the demo, the reason why and what we need to do. We are already showing the value here. You see, we are showing the row, and we have this -1. Data right now is not sorted, and if I sort by sales amount, you see that others appears at the beginning, but this is by chance, because of the number. If I sort by ranking, it will. If I sort by ranking the right way, descending, it appears also always at the top, because I'm using -1 for the ranking of others. I could use for the ranking of others a different number. I could use 4. If I use 4, then the number will appear after number 3. The problem is the number 4 is already used by a regular product which is ranked 4. So I need to add space to my report, shifting all the products which have a ranking greater than 3 to a higher value. So that 4 will be a whole, and I will place my others rows at the 4th place. To do that, I need to tweak the ranking measure. Okay, ranking is already nearly correct because it's computing the rank X, it's checking which other is selected. But here, instead of -1, I will return 4. And instead of the ranking, I need to do further calculation because I want to leave the 4th place free. So if I do that, I need to say, well, if the ranking is less or equal than the products, I don't have the products to rank, so I need to add the variable products to rank, which is my top n value. Okay. If the ranking is less or equal than the products to rank, then I return the ranking. Otherwise, I return the ranking plus 1. Why do I do that? Well, if the ranking of the current product is less or equal than 3, I return 3. If it is 4, I return 5. This leaves space to 4 to be used for the result. So here I can now use 4 if the other row is selected. If I hit enter and I go here, you see I no longer see the others row. It disappeared. And the reason is I'm using in the rows visible, I'm checking that the ranking is less or equal to the top n value. That worked earlier because I was using -1 for the ranking of the others rows. Now I'm using 4, which is actually greater than 3. So I need to leave space for an additional row, which I created, and I use top n value plus 1. And now I have my others rows that appears here, which is fine. I have data sorted the right way, and it is being sorted by ranking. The last detail is that seeing a ranking here in the report is not really cool because I'm showing a column that is there only for the purpose of sorting data, but it's not really needed. This is not a big deal because I need the column in order to sort the data correctly, but I can simply go here and reduce it so that it disappears. And the result, the final result, is that I now have where is it? Ranking need to be sorted. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's nice. And now I can get rid of it. Okay. So I no longer see the column. It's still there, but I do no longer see it. And I see 3 products, others with the value correctly computed, and everything is dynamic. You see that if I change the year, everything changes. The product do change. And if I change, of course, any value in the slicer, everything works, including the number of products, which is visible here. Why I don't see anything here? Oh, I don't see anything. That's my bad. You see, if I show 2, I no longer see the value because I made a mistake. In the ranking, that should not be 4. That should be products to rank plus 1. Otherwise, when I select 2 products, that will be 4 and it will not be visible. Now, even with 2 or also with 1, it still works. Or 4 or whatever, the numbers are correct. So now we can go to a conclusion and say that we marked also the 4th place. So we have been able to Show only the top n products, add the other rows, compute a value, and sort the rows the right way. As you have seen, quite a ton of DAX code, some mistakes here and there. And as I told you at the beginning, the code we authored together is not super optimized. If you go to sqlbi.com, you will find the article, the optimized code, and the example that you can download and use to practice. An important detail here is that writing this code is not easy. It's kind of hard and requires you to understand several details. The reason why I wanted to show you all the steps to author the code is basically to demonstrate you that once you master the basics and once you have the right understanding of how to make DAX work, then you can really make Power BI do whatever you want. Power BI offers you building blocks that you can use in order to build gorgeous reports. DAX is one important building block. Now, if you are already familiar with DAX, that's fine. This is a new technique that you can start and use starting from tomorrow. If you are new to DAX or if you didn't understand all the details, then jump to sqlbi.com. There we have free introductory videos to DAX that help you starting with the right step, so that you do not spend a lot of time trying to understand concepts which are actually easy if you learn them the right way. Then if you want to move further, we offer a lot of different courses that can bring you to the next level. That's enough for now, and I hope you enjoy watching the video. Remember to hit subscribe button just to tell us that you like this kind of videos and you want to see more. And for now, enjoy the article and enjoy DAX.